Canada might build Gripen fighter jets and possibly for Ukraine, but here's the credible version of that headline. Saab, the Swedish aerospace company, has pitched Canada on a mixed package. 72 Gripen fighters, 6 GlobalEye surveillance aircraft. They're dangling about 12,600 Canadian jobs and talking about setting up production centers in Ontario and Quebec. Why does this matter beyond Canada? Because Ukraine has signaled interest in more than 100 Gripens. And Saab's CEO has floated that a Canadian production line could help deliver jets not just for Canada, but for export, Ukraine included. Ukraine included. Key word, could. This is a proposal, not a signed deal. On the Ukraine side, Sweden's Prime Minister and President Zelensky signed a letter of intent. Think, a serious handshake, covering roughly 100 to 150 Gripen fighters. No final price tag, no set timeline, but it would be Ukraine's first new-built fighter fleet since 1991. Sweden says new-build Gripens would take around 3 years to arrive once greenlit. Zelensky wants deliveries as soon as 2026. Zooming back to Canada, the country is already buying F-35s. Ottawa hasn't confirmed the final F-35 number, and there's chatter about a mixed fleet. F-35s, Gripens, but it's too early to say whether Canada would cut any F-35 orders. So, the Gripen plan isn't replacing the F-35, it's positioned as an add-on, with industrial benefits at home, another wrinkle GlobalEye. Besides Ukraine's fighter interest, Saab says France-Germany could be customers for the GlobalEye surveillance planes. If that happens, a Canadian line might become an export hub, not just a domestic assembly shop. Again, might is doing a lot of work here. There's also a long game in Ukraine. Kyiv and Sweden agreed to localize Gripen production in Ukraine, with a target of significant domestic manufacturing by 2033. Saab is reportedly exploring a parallel production line in Canada to meet broader demand. So you can imagine a supply chain that starts in Canada, scales in Europe, and eventually lands in Ukraine as local industry ramps up. Bottom line, Ontario plant to build 100 Gripens for Ukraine is catchy but premature. What's real today? A Canadian proposal on the table, a Ukrainian letter of intent, job numbers, export talk from Saab, and a possible 3-year build window once orders lock in. What I'll watch next? Does Ottawa commit to a mixed fleet? Does Saab lock in export contracts that justify a Canadian line? And does Ukraine finalize financing and timelines to start the clock on that 3-year delivery window? When those 3 pieces click, then the headline writes itself. Until then, it's a credible